Happy Thursday. Happy summer solstice. Welcome. Chime in and let me know you're joining me today. Gonna add some comments on my screen. Welcome. Oh, look at you guys go. You're so fast. Yes, thank you for joining me. It's been a fun week with the new colors that were released this week. So I'll be excited to hear. Maybe tell me what your favorite color is. I definitely have a favorite, although I really love them all. So good morning from Washington. Let's see. I don't really know about your format, Paula. I can't answer that question. I apologize. I don't know. I usually, when I'm not on the live, I watch them both. So I would know if it's changed, but I can't tell you today. So that, and someone else is with me, June 21st, the longest day of the year. So, and they're saying, so is this the strawberry moon tonight? Oh, that would be really cool. Good morning. I'll have to stay up and look for that. So, but that means staying up late, right? Good morning. Good morning. Let's see. April, Kelly, Deb, Jamie. Oh, hi, Jamie. Linda. Good morning from St. Louis, Linda. Thanks for joining me. It's rainy here in Iowa, but we need it badly, so I will take it. We've had such warm weather lately, kind of really hot. So for Iowa, I guess in mid-June, it's a little warmer. You expect this kind of weather end of July or 1st of August, but I'll take it. I like the rain. So good morning. Thanks for joining me. We have lots to talk about today. I know you guys probably saw Taylor on Tuesday with the new colors. And then we have Stamp Joy, Stamp Joy in person in Des Moines, Iowa here. Registration is open for that. You guys have been signing up like crazy. We're going to have the biggest turnout that we've ever had, so we're really excited about it. We have a class that's a background class, and all the make and takes, and then the goodie bag. I have been to every single Stamp Joy. I have to thank my bestie. Her name is Chris, because the first Stamp Joy that was in Ankeny way back when, I think we're talking 8 or 9 years ago, she said, Susan, look what's coming to Ankeny. We should go. And I hadn't seen it, so I was super excited. I was kind of new to TE at that point. So luckily she caught it and she said, we really should sign up for this. And I'm so glad I did, because I have gone to every one. I was a participant, I think, for 2, and then the rest of them I've taught or worked, whatever the case might be, all the rest of them. And it's a lot of fun. You meet some really cool people. It's fun to meet new people. So if you're someone that's debating it, like going alone, join, come. Hi, Stacy from Scrap Mania. Welcome. And Barbara from Yorkshire, New England. That's awesome. Very cool. My husband would really love to go there. We just got back from Europe, but we just hit London, Paris, Barcelona, and Madrid. So we want to go back and do some more places. So Yorkshire sounds like fun. Love that. Anyway, let's see what else. So come to Stamp Joy. You will have a blast. The goodie bag was it's so funny. I loved all of it, but I love surprises. So I loved the goodie bag because you got there and I don't know, it's just fun to open it and see what they had in store for you or what maybe you'd never seen before. So I really enjoy that, but I'm a person that does actually like a surprise. I know a lot of people like want to see what's all in it and that jazz, but I am one of those that's like on the advent calendar, I'm a no open, no peek. I like a surprise. So anyway, I hope you join us. The registration is still going on right now. And then next week, Taylor will be back on Tuesday, and it's Kit for the last Tuesday of the month. So I do have a sneak peek. I'm prepared today. So good morning, Tammy, Jenny, Marilyn, Mary. I see you all. Oh, someone's saying they wish they could be here. Oh, you'll be in Holland. I think that sounds like fun. If that's the reason why you're missing, that's a good reason. So, and Mary's with me. She loves surprises. Cindy says she's registered. Sue agrees with me about the goodie bags. I don't know. And as adults, I feel like we don't have as many moments that we get things that are like surprise. So I think it's really fun to have, even if it's just, you know, some goodies in a goodie bag, it's just kind of fun to have a little surprise here or there. So hello from Myrtle Beach. Good morning in Pennsylvania. Thank you all for joining me. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the new inks. I'm going to work with those just because, you know, it's new and it's always fun to play with new stuff. Along with some stencils, which you all know, it's one of my favorite things. So yes, and we will get to that. I don't know if there's anything else to share with you other than, you know, check out the new colors, and if you're coming to Stamp Joy, register and come join us. So I'm going to switch you down so we can get started. There we go. This is what I'm going to work with today. So this technique is not new by any stretch. It happens to be one of my favorite just because I feel like it has such a pop. I know I've shown it on lives before. I just love it a lot, and I love trying it with the new colors just to kind of get myself familiar with the tones and the different, how they look when they're light and how they look when they're dark, and maybe what they work with in our current catalog. So that was one of the things that I did, and I apologize. This morning I could not find I did one in the purples, but I'll tell you what they are. I just tried to kind of come up with what my tone colors were for the new colors. And you may agree with me or you may disagree, but I would encourage you to grab your stamps or cardstock and kind of see what other tones that we currently have go with. So that way it makes blending fun, giving dimension to things. It's just easy to know where you're headed. This is the colors that I did on that retirement card. I know Taylor showed you on Tuesday. It had like the... it's 5 o'clock somewhere glasses on it, but it was a happy retirement card. So these are the colors that I used, but again, I was trying to come up with the tones that work with our new colors. I love pear. I just think it's such a unique addition to our colors. And then I just went ahead and put it with greens, and then rock candy. Of course, I'm gonna love that. It goes with my favorite color, which is blueberry. So, and that's how I ran them, was blue raspberry. Sorry, I said blueberry, but blue raspberry, which is my favorite color, rock candy, and then I put poblano pepper, but that's just my idea of what I love. We have a lot of teals, and so you have a lot to kind of experiment with, but I would really encourage you to do that. And then the pear was cilantro and jalapeno. That really does bring it to the green tones. If you're looking for a different direction, the pear I feel like gives greens and yellows and maybe a little, I don't know, more of an earthy tone to it. So I'm sure you could go in a lot of different directions. And I apologize, I don't have my card for this, but this was our new, oh, now of course I'm going to draw a blank, Concord grape, our like original. I loved our jelly donut with it, and then lavender glaze, and that's the tones I got there. These tones are what I got with the teals that are here. Do I have a sample? Let me see. I actually did not. I was wondering if I blended one with the pears, and I chickened out. It was more green than I wanted, so I went this direction with it, and I did pear and rock candy and just brought them in together, because when they overlap you get a really gorgeous green. That might be my favorite. Problem is, I learned a lesson, and I will talk about that as I show you how I made these. So let me see. Ooh, the ink blend with multiple colors. Yes. And you can just use a heavy hand to a light hand. Like if you wanted to just do real heavy with the rock candy and then blend it out, that works too. I was just more playing with how they came together with the colors we already have. Oh, and then there's some discussion, I probably missed it. I'm seeing on the notes here that someone said about going alone. Do not worry. As long as you're okay with, like, if you have to drive or fly or whatever, alone, come. You will meet so many fun new people. I, at lunch, usually try to sit with someone that looks like they're on their own. I've met so many cool people doing that. And then it usually seems like then the next person that's there alone finds joins in or finds another one-off person, and you'll end up with a new best friend. It's fun because I know I have friends, but not many of them are crafters. So it's always nice to have a good crafty friend. So, and then I hear the other thing is there's a comment that just came in that they love the 3D look that this gives. I think that might be why I'm so addicted to this technique, which I have, like I said, I have done before. It's not new, but it's one of my favorite things. So the first thing you want to start with, I think makes it the easiest, is some sort of one layer stencil. So going back to our original stencils that before all the layering and all that came into play, just grab a one layer stencil. I grabbed several. I really wanted to get to this one, Scattered Florals. It happens to be one of my favorite. Tip for this though, wash it in the sink underwater. The microfiber cloths really want to grab at the pokey pieces of the flower. So when you go to rinse this off, I would just go to the sink with it. But Scattered Florals I think would be really pretty with this. This one is Artisan Feathers, and that's an oldie but goodie. This one's Flickering. This one I'm going to use today, which is Breezy. Polka Party I think would be great with this also. But I just loved how this Breezy turned out. It happened to be my favorite, and then I was like, I'm hooked. I'm going to keep going, because you'll find some stencils that are really tight can get a little busy. So you want something that has a little space. I almost even think this one could get a little busy, but I know I've used it before and liked it. So something to think about. Just look for a stencil that kind of gives you some space to blend and to give that shifting that we're going to do, and something that isn't too geometric too. Sometimes the geometric ones just look off, like you're a little off, but nothing too small. That makes it look busy. So, and I know we have tons. You can do this with mini slim. We have tons of mini slim single layer stencils too, but you can go nuts with this. So try something that you have at home. The one, and you can do it on any color cardstock. I know I'm going to the standby today of the toffee, but if you have like something that's more of like a little bit above a pastel, so that the white still shows up, that would be what I would prefer. And then you shift it a little, so something more mid-tone. You don't want anything too dark, because then once you shift it, it just is not quite as good. I really like the mid-tone. I feel like I lose a little bit of what's going on when the cardstock gets a little too dark. So, oh, I love it. Pamela's talking about she made a friend just even in the hotel parking lot. That's awesome. So that's what I love hearing. I know there's so many people. I met a gal last year named Paula, and I follow her on like what she's up to and all that. It's just fun. You meet new people, and it's a really, I don't know, brings everyone together because we have a, shared common interest. So let me grab the Breezy stencil. Basic stenciling here, but the one thing you need for this for sure, besides inks, is you need a sugar cube or a white ink, a pigment ink. I'm going to flip that over. I always tape mine down to the back side. I mean, you could use a full 6x6 if you wanted to like cut this down or use a portion of it. I just chose to cut mine all down to a quarter sheet of cardstock, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I do that. I know I don't need that much real estate, but I do that because that way I can decide if there's a part like, oh, I like how this splattered over here a little bit better, or something. I can shift and cut off what I want, because that little bit of, I don't know, what would it be, 1/4 inch that I end up cutting off, it's not that valuable to me. So I just go ahead. Usually when I am stenciling, I either do a full 6x6 or a quarter sheet and then cut it down later. So I agree with you. I can't see your name, but it might be Joan. She said she'll be going alone. She's not worried, as crafty people are always so friendly. I completely agree with you. So come enjoy. I hope you meet new people, and I'd love to hear about it afterwards. I guarantee you will meet some new fun people. Everyone's there just to have fun, right? So again, I always do this as I tape my stencil to the back. You could tape it down to the glass board. This is just my preferred method, so I can move it around if I want. And then these are by Nuvo. We sell them on the website. They come in a 4-pack. They're just little sponge applicators. I love them. And then you need sugar cube ink and then pounce. And I know Taylor said this before, but we do a little like twist and pounce. You don't want to rub, and you don't want to twist like super heavy handed, because if your white ink pad is well inked, you can pool ink underneath your stencil, which you don't want to do. So I just kind of pounce and a little bit of a tap. And I go over it once and then I come back and add more, because once that starts settling into the paper, I usually can add a little bit more. And you want that white so that everything sits up on top of the paper. So get these out of the way. So pigment ink will make it so that my next layer of ink sits up on top of the toffee cardstock, as opposed to sinking all the way in. That's why it takes a little bit longer to dry. If we just came in right away with a dye-based ink, it would take on a little bit of the tone of the toffee cardstock. But putting down the sugar cube first will give you that separation. So have you ever seen like if someone took like a dark cardstock and then stenciled white and then another color over the top, and it like sits up on top, and you can tell that there's something that's making the ink on top of that dark cardstock brighter? It's usually because they put down white first. So you could put sugar cube down and just blend right over the top. Like clean your stencil, line it up again, and then ink blend a color right over the top. You could totally do that, because that white makes your ink more true to color, as opposed to taking on the toffee that's below it. So that's a heavy application. We have a well-inked ink pad here at the office of Sugar Cube. So I will have to clean things up. Peel this up. Isn't that pretty? This might be a heavier hand that I did today than the one that I did yesterday. So I'm just gonna tell you, being I didn't want to have to turn on the heat tool to dry that, because you have to get this dry before you can add color on the top of it. So I made some up last night so they'd be nice and dry. All right, I'm just gonna set this aside, because what I did yesterday was I went ahead and put some sugar cube on a few of these, just so I'd have them so that we could move on. I will have to use the heat tool to dry the next layer anyway, but we'll just set this one aside to let it dry. All right. Okay, so we'll bring this back in. I do need to clean up my stencil. I don't know about you, but when I have white ink or sugar cube ink like that, I don't want it on my microfiber cloth. So I sometimes just sacrifice a baby white, because I know it's not going to be good for anything else, just to get the majority of it up. Or if I have time, I'll go take it to the sink. But sugar cube, I don't know why. Don't want it all over my microfiber cloth. Okay, so got that pretty well. Now I can come in with a little bit of alcohol. And my microfiber cloth, I'm not going to make my cloth all full of white. I got the majority of it up. But this will also help get it dry, being the alcohol dries so fast. Oh, that Michelle, I think it's Michelle. Again, your name on the screen is red. That is yes, Michelle. Her daughter is due with her first baby October 19th. I would do the same thing. If you live close to her, you would hate to miss meeting that little one, right? Oh, that's fun. Good reason. But at least there's the virtual for the class. Yes. All right, so we've got that clean. We've got, this one is the one from last night, so it's dry. Otherwise, what I do is I just take my heat tool and I heat it. And what you want to do is make it so that it doesn't feel like it's stopping your finger. Like sugar cube ink it makes it so your hand or your finger can't run just over the cardstock. If it's dry, you should be able to touch it and it doesn't grab your finger, because that ink is now dry, not wet anymore. Okay, this is always the fun part, because then I got to figure out where my stencil lined up. Oh, that was easier than normal. Let me get myself some more tape out, because otherwise, if I don't do this ahead of time, I'm going to want my tape in a minute. Your future self will thank you. Usually I didn't do enough tape for myself today. I've already run out of it. Let's see. Did anyone chime in? Maybe I missed it. Did you? Yeah, isn't this pretty? Isn't white just pretty? I agree. White on toffee is just so beautiful. I completely agree with you. Like, to use that just on its own is great. And then if you just wanted to make your ink pop, like I was saying, you could line this back up just the same, just right over the same spot that you did, and then ink blend over it, and it'll make your ink be a lot brighter than it would if you just blended right over toffee. Because if you took dye-based ink and you ran it over top of toffee, it's going to settle into the cardstock and take on some of that toffee color. So if I took rock candy right now, just on toffee, it's going to settle into that paper and be a different, like just a more muted color because it's taking on the toffee cardstock. But being as I have white, this is going to go now and sit up on top of that pigment, which I said white, but pigment-based ink. It's going to sit up on top of there. So you could just line it up perfectly and then you'd have it really pop. But I do like the shifting. I think they call this ghost stenciling. I called it stencil shifting for a long time, but I guess that's not what it's called. So can you see what I did there? So line it up to right where it is, and then I always say up to you. I go right and then down, but whichever works for you, and I just go down a smidge. So can you see how I have the toffee lines? It almost looks like a shadow right now, but I really like that. I think that looks really good. I'm going to flip it over and tape it to the back side. And again, because this is brand new tape, I'm going to run it on my hand just to detack it a little bit. One more for good measure, right? Did you guys chime in at all what your favorite of the 3 new colors is? Because I do have a favorite, even though I like all 3. I have a favorite. I think it's pretty easy to guess. So for this one, I don't, kind of torn. I kind of want to, being as I didn't finish my other one that was like this, I kind of want to go back and try this one. So I'm going to blend a little bit of pear, and I'm going to do that first because that's the lighter color, so I don't pick up a bunch of the rock candy on my blender brush. But I'm going to do the rock candy and the pear blend. So let me move that. I will grab a green brush that we have designated for pear. And we will blend. This time, the last one I did kind of a light hand of the pear, so I'm going to try to be a little bit heavier handed this time. But, as I learned, you cannot splatter and then try to emboss that hello. The splatter is enough to create a little bit of a ledge that, and I'll show you my mistake because I had to keep going and just finish it. It looks like I have a card with the measles. Are you ready for my boo-boo? Look at that. Can you see it? I might still finish it. I'm not sure. Can you see my little, I call them measles dots. So I splattered and then put the hello on. That didn't go so great. So here's my mistake. I thought I brought it just because I thought it was kind of funny. It's like, well, that didn't work. So that's why this one isn't finished either, but I'm going to just do something a little different with it now that I know. I thought I was being all smart by getting that done ahead of time, and nope. I guess I didn't think that one through, right? So this is pear, and I tried to do a very heavy hand up here in the corner. Even more. Because I'm hoping this one kind of turned out a little light. I just wanted to make sure my pear popped off of my toffee. So, and then make sure I bring it a little over half so that I have that blend between the two and get that green color, as opposed to just having it stop and then going pear, rock candy. This way I get the overlap. So I would say, like, if you're using 2 colors, go 2/3 with your color, and then the other one go 2/3, so you get 1/3, your blend 1/3, and then 1/3 of the second color. Does that make sense? Okay, did anyone say? The Concord Great is so rich and pretty. Jenny loves the pear. Measles, Debbie says. I know. I don't know why I didn't think through that. I thought it was being like all, like, oh, I'm going to do that and let that dry, because my daughter and I were going out to dinner, and I thought, oh, I'm going to go do that and let that dry, and I'll take care of that when I get home. thought I was being all smart, but. And I do love Concord grape and pear, but my favorite happens to be the rock candy if I had to pick. But I do really love the kind of blue that comes out in the Concord grape a lot. So, all right, so let's grab our Concord grape and our brush for that. I believe, I can't quite tell what Taylor used. I'm thinking it was this blue, this navy blue one. So yeah, it looks like rock candy in here. All right, so this is also a very strong color, so I come in gingerly with it. Because the pear I could be pretty strong-handed with, but this rock candy is very saturated, and being it's a new ink pad, it is also very well inked. We have a lot of color in there, so. And then I lighten up as I come over top of that pear so I can get that green blend between the two. So let's do a little more down in this corner. So I want that variation of color. I think maybe what my favorite thing about doing this technique is picking it up and looking at it. Oh, there's another rock candy. Man, you guys are on the Concord grape. I love, Paula, I like the way you think. This is just texture. I know I didn't throw it out yet. My other thought was I could just do a regular, just hello die cut and put it over the top. So I didn't want to throw it out because I really love the way the background turned out. And it's so funny because I struggle with splattering. So I was like, okay, that's fine. But my splatter on this one turned out so good. And then I went to go do the hello and I was like, well, so much for that. So Sarah says rock candy too. All right. I love all the Concord grape fans. That's awesome. That's why you have to introduce all the different colors, right? Everyone has a favorite. But right now, Concord grape's winning. Jeez. All right, this is, like I said, this is my favorite part. I just love peeking. And I'm gonna peek just a little bit because I wanna make sure I don't wanna put down more color. Isn't that fun? Oh, look at that. And I love where they come together. You get that fun green with a little teal. Sorry, I'm out of frame. There we go. Yeah, I definitely will save the card, I promise. Because I was like, this splatter turned out great. And I know it's just splatter, but for me, I don't know why. I struggle. It's always everywhere other than where I want it to be. Like yesterday when I was splattering, I was like, how come it's all over my desk? And I'm like, I couldn't understand it was getting on my desk even though my brush was right over my project. So I'm learning one step at a time. And on the live today, I'm not going to splatter because I don't want to wait for it to dry. But I did what Taylor always has shown you, where we take the pH Martins with a little bit of water and then splatter it. So Heather is good at it. I'm not so good at it. Mainly my problem is that it splatters, but it goes everywhere other than what I want it to. So I don't know why, Dawn, why splatters water in a brush, and I do it exactly the way Heather does it. But I am not kidding. Yesterday it was everywhere. So I have my brush here, right? And I'm flicking it, and it's like it's coming off the top and going every which way. So not going to do that on the live today, and also because I just want to move on. I don't want to wait for it to dry. So there's our panel. And this is where, like I said, I do like to cut it down, but I am going to go ahead and have us stamp our hello and get that all done. So to emboss that hello, I want to dry it. So I'm going to use my heat tool just to get it dry, because I don't want white embossing powder everywhere else. So hold for a second while I dry this. And I saturated it pretty well, so I'm going to give it okay, and I'm going to set that aside for a sec because I am really curious if this one turns out as pretty as I think it will. Let me grab my stencil back. gonna let that set for a second. I did this one right before the live because this was one I just didn't get to yesterday and I really wanted to try it. Okay. This happens to be one of my favorite. That only took us a second, and if I'm not gonna make a card out of it, I don't have to dry it either. So I'm gonna shift it over, and so line it up, and then I go over a little bit and down a little bit. So I just want to see a little bit of that line. You can go a little or as much as you want. If you are not using a small image stencil or something geometric, you can usually get away with whatever shift you do. Sometimes with the geometric, if you shift too much, it messes with your eye. It just looks super busy, and not my favorite. So let's go, being everyone loves the Concord grape. Let's try that one while this is setting for a minute. I didn't get to this one. Like I said, I didn't get to this one yesterday, and I was so curious how this one would work with this technique. So I am going to just blend and lighten my hand as I go across, just to see what this Concord grape looks like a little bit lighter. So on my original one that I have here, this one was the Concord grape jelly donut lavender glaze, but this one I'm just going to try just lightening my hand to get a lighter color of this Concord. I'm sure there's lots of opportunity for overlapping this one too, so let me peek. I'm just curious. Oh, that's nice and light. A lot of blue tone comes out in this color. Gonna peek. This seems a little, oh, that's pretty. I didn't think I liked where it was going, but I like it. Okay, let's peek. This was just for funsies, but I think I like it. Oh, that's pretty. Isn't that pretty? I'm just gonna set that one aside. I just kind of wanted to see if that shift with this a little bit smaller detail of a stencil, didn't know if it would get busy, but I think that's really pretty. So, and it's a fun way to use that Concord grape. But I also really like this blend, so I think if I would do it again, I would come back and use the 3 colors. But that's really pretty too. That really makes that purple look blue. Cool. Well, let's clean that up, and we should be, I'll test my cardstock here, but we should be ready to use it and emboss over it. Okay. I always test. That's a good way to go about doing it, is to test and make sure none of our embossing powder is sticking where we don't want it. So one of the ways that I do that is I take a scratch piece of paper and grab one here, and I will shake white over it. We'll see if things are sticking. See, I have a little bit of sticking, so I might need to dry it some more. That brush is not clean. And if that happens, you brush off where it's stuck. And we'll just dry it again. That just means that my ink is still a little wet. My favorite way to do this technique is to do the sugar cube, walk away, do the ink, walk away, because then I don't have to dry it. But if you need to keep going, and then like yesterday I made 4 of these with the sugar cube on it before I had to go wash it. So that's always a nice thing too. Oh, now we're dry. A little heat and a little bit of powder tool, just fine. Okay, now we can do our hello. Grab my Misty. Use the cute little teal one, mini one. This is where I need the magnets, so I gotta grab it from another Misty. I like having my magnets, especially for this because I'm gonna stamp it several times. And I did pay attention that I want my rock candy up here. Either way works, but I kind of liked my rock candy up in the upper left over here. So we're gonna take our hello. We have several of these big words. The hello happens to be my favorite. I think it's the font, but there's happy, and this one's got like the birthday and the hello and all the fun sayings. All of those work for something like this. And I call this kind of like making an eclipse card without it being that block style, I guess, that we originally did all the eclipse cards with. So obviously this edge of my cardstock I'm not going to use, so I'm going to scooch my hello over a little bit. And this is where I can use a die later to get it exactly where I want it. Debbie, I don't trim my cardstock first, and I'll show you. I've said this many times. I would rather, when you cut an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock down, you just end up with that little 1/4 of an inch that you don't use. It's not really worth it for anything, so I just go ahead and use a 1/4 sheet, and then I can decide, did I like the blend over here more? Did I like this? Did I like that? Or do I need to straighten out my word, whatever it might be. I like to just take care of that later, and I cut it down. That's why I'm obsessed with the layering stacklets, the A2 layering stacklets, because I like to just cut down later. But it's personal preference for whatever works for you. That just happens to be what works for me. So something odd that I've been doing, I don't know that it helps. I'll show you my experiment here in a minute. Is I've been doing Versamark and then stamping that, and then I clean it and I do a layer of sugar cube. Then I use my white. You know how when I emboss something, I always stamp it twice? I've started to stamping it once with the Versamark, and then I clean it and I stamp it once with the sugar cube. And being as we have the Misty, this works. Otherwise, just use whatever your preference is. I know when Heather does white embossing, she always uses just sugar cube and white embossing powder. I like it either way, and I have something for you. I was testing a little bit yesterday because I was curious to know what works best. And we do not have a just press tool up here, so I will use my hand. Get that back in place. I might ink it again. It looks I was a little patchy with it. All right, because I want this to be really solid. So another thing is, I'm going to make sure when I pick this up, I'm going to make sure I leave my stamp and the Misty just the way I had it, in case I want to change or add another layer of embossing. So I'm going to sprinkle that on. We will heat this, and I will show you my experiment. A little bit more. I double stamp and then I double powder. Does anyone else do that? Is that just me? Never had that privilege before, but now that we've got the Misty, I can. My heat tool is warm because I dried that ink, but I still like to heat up the back of my cardstock. That's the way I was taught, and I really think it makes a difference. The other thing I learned about white embossing powder is it really wants you to keep a distance. I feel like I get less of those little divots in my embossing if I'm not overheating it. So if you see I'm at least, 2 inches or better away. I mean, yes, I want it to emboss fast so I can be done fast, but I also want it to be smooth and pretty. Okay, let me double check that I'm all done. Okay, so when you have a very solid image like this one, do you see every once in a while where I have little spots where it didn't stamp all the way, or it didn't? I think the embossing powder flies off is what I believe. So I did this yesterday. So this one is done with Versamark and this one is done with Sugar Cube. I really don't see a difference in how that adheres. I think they look the same. But this one has 2 layers of embossing powder. So I stamped it and then I put it back in and I embossed it again. So it's kind of, do you see, you can see that it's just a little bit more shiny, a little bit thicker than this one was. It really didn't have anything to do with the inks. This was Versamark, this was Sugar Cube. Same embossing powder, same TE white. I think the biggest thing was I kind of liked the second layer. And you can go to a 3rd layer, whatever you want to do. I'm going to show you, it's not that intimidating. It does take you 1 step longer to do it because you have to emboss all over again. But again, you just have to make sure you put your cardstock right in the same spot that you were at. Ink this up again. Stamp it, powder it again. Am I breaking any embossing rules? I'm just checking comments to make sure I'm not missing any questions. So I might not do that one twice. That seemed like I'm doing okay there. Just inked it once this time. Powder it again. You're not really going to be able to see where your powder is. It just kind of makes it dull from one side to the other where you haven't been with the... So we'll heat that. Move this out of my way. Heat that one more time. It'll heat even faster this time. Oh, sorry. That's my tennies. Got new tennies. I bought them to walk around Europe and they squeak still. I have some stray embossing powder. Luckily I noticed it before, or it could just look like I splattered, right? Sorry, I obviously cannot clean up and talk at the same time. All right, get some of those stray ones out of there. And then just follow it, and then where it turns shiny, let's see if I can show you. So from here, do you see how it's just kind of dull looking? As I heat it, it will turn shiny again. Again, don't want to be too close because I don't want to overheat that embossing powder. See how much more like thick this is making it? It just looks more layered. All the way to the, making it shiny. That's a Moana song, right? Shiny. See how, like, oh, I can see I missed a spot right there. Just makes it more dense looking and just a lot brighter. So I do like, especially with something like this, the Hello. I have done it with the VersaFine Clair in clear if you want a black sentiment. That's really fun too, but I thought the white worked best for this because it really went with that shadow. So elevates the visibility. Are you talking about my Hello? It just makes it that much brighter. It just pops a little bit more. So, but again, like I said, that's the difference between 1 layer of embossing and that's 2. I just think it's just a little bit more, but it's also just fine to do 1. I think they both turned out great. And like I said, Versamark versus Sugar Cube, I think they were both fine. So I was just curious. I'm like, am I doing this wrong? I'm usually reach for Versamark. So I was curious. So, all right, let's take our Hello. And then I'm also going to grab one of the dies from our, I'm going to use the A2 Layers Edition stacklets. I just love these. And they're such a good, Taylor's dies are such a good quality. I don't have any warping issues or anything like that. I think her dies are really nice and strong and sturdy, but thin because you want to be able to work and see where you're cutting and where you're laying things. And so we can have all those different 1/8 inch differences. So, all right. So like this is the reason why, Debbie, that I don't cut down. This is just a personal preference, but this way I can say, oh look, my hello's a little low, or I really want to see more of that teal, so I can shift it. I can pick my placement. So pick my placement on that. I'm going to shift it down a little bit. Tape. Bring in the die cut machine, and while I have it, I'll do the hello second. I could do them together, but just to not bore you with me getting it all lined up perfectly, I'll just do it one at a time. Run that through, then we'll line up the hello. Grab the hello, line that up. Run that through. I did, when I put my cards together, I did offset them a little bit, and I did that on purpose because I thought it kind of went with the hello. I offset it, I didn't put it on there perfectly. Make sure I'm lined up here. Run that through again. Then we can get the die cut machine out of the way. You know what? I'm noticing I'm a little low. I'm gonna fix this. My H, I was like, man, that's really close to the edge, but that's because I am a little low on my die here. Luckily I caught it. It's hard when you're all watching me. I want to pay attention and talk to you at the same time. So I'm feeling like the overall consensus was the Concord grape. Sounds like you guys are signing up for Stamp Joy or have really good reasons why you're not going. Thank you. I'm calming. Wow. I don't know anyone's ever called me that. That's awesome. I am a go with the flow girl. Does that make any sense? I think every family has to have one of those. One of those people that's like, yep, I'll do that. Like, I feel like it just works. I'm a go with the flow person. Like, whatever you want for dinner, I'm good. You want to stay home, I'm good. I don't usually have huge opinions on things, so I call it being the go with the flow person. Okay, so there's our hello. This is the point where I would take this and go splatter it. And just don't forget about your little pieces that are in the die if you want those splattered. I added, when I did my splattering, I did add back into the box these bigger pieces in the middle here. But I didn't mess with these smaller ones like these four. I only threw these two inside the box when I splattered. So, but like I said, I'm not going to do it today just because I want to be able to move on and not wait for it to dry. All right, so this is Rock Candy cardstock, and I think I'm going to do the postage on my original cards. I did the petite scalloped rectangles. But I'm going to do the A2 postage stacklets. I don't own those. I need to buy them. So that, like, yesterday I was like, oh, I don't have those. I need to get my hands on those. I think I know where to get them. But that's really cute. Look, too. So let's use those. I use liquid glue to adhere this part, the main background down. And then I will use foam tape to pop up my hello. I think that gives it some dimension, and I did do all this on purpose, that I wanted the hello to kind of be like that eclipse look that we did. I don't know, it was a few years back. Eclipse cards got to be really popular, but I still like them. I feel like it really brings attention to your sentiment. Line that up just inside the stitching. This is where I get to use my magnets to hold it while I put foam on the back of this. Let's see, I want to see if I'm missing anything, anyone. I missed that. Something about pigment ink. I don't know if we're talking about the fact that the color's sitting up on top of the cardstock. That's the whole point of putting the white or sugar cube pigment ink down first. But again, grab this again. It's still drying up here, but I think it's stunning just the way it is. So let's grab, today I had to grab us a brand new roll of the 1/32 foam tape. we just go through it. This is the end of this roll. Taylor and I, it's one of our favorite things. So I just took the 1/32 foam and I just cut them into these little strips. And I took the backing off of them just so I could help kind of bend them the way I want. So I peeled off both sides, which I know is dangerous, right? But peeling off both sides, I was able to kind of bend them on my letters a little bit better. This one is a little thick. I might not be able to use it where I want it to. And if I use one of the Tim Holtz scissors, they're coated and they don't stick as bad. So I will put them here, there, and wherever. Just to kind of pop up my word a little bit. What, I know I asked you guys about your favorite color, but and what are you crafting for? Now that we're past Father's Day and we're past graduation, which actually I still have a couple of those to send. Oh, cutting. So are you trying to, Anne-Marie, are you trying to say that the fact that I cut into that card panel was nervous to you? I'm sorry. I did catch that I had it a little bit off, but that is definitely a spot where you want to look at that twice, kind of like I did right before and decided, nope, this is not on here centered. Yeah, make extra sure you look twice because you've gone through a lot of work to mess it up now, right? Is that what you're getting at? It did make me a little nervous to do it on camera because I always feel like if it's going to screw up, that's the moment. It will. But I showed you my chicken pox or measles cards, so right? I did share with you. It happens to me too. Like right now that my adhesive just totally stuck together. Still trying to do 4th of July. I need to do that too. I get to have a weekend with my girlfriend, just her and I crafting. We started stamping, gosh, years ago. So, and we used to get together all the time and do what we called crafting weekends. So no matter what you did, if you were a scrapbooker, people scrapbooked. If you were card maker, if you did stitching, whatever, we would just all get together and we'd find either someone that had a garage we could set up or a basement, and a big group of us would get together. But we've all kind of moved on to other things. Even my best friend, she does paint pouring and that kind of stuff now. It's beautiful. She doesn't stamp as much, but she would like to make birthday cards. So we're getting together this weekend in her camper and we're going to make birthday cards. So I'm very excited because I need them too. I'm very much out of masculine birthday cards. So I need to get that done. One more last piece of tape so I don't bore you with all my little pieces. Here, there, and everywhere. All right, let me get what looks bad out of the way. You don't want to look at that, right? Let's peel the backing off of these. The few that I did have a few where I didn't peel the backing off first. I had an argument with one strip and then I quit doing it, but it is my favorite way to get my foam tape to kind of bend for me in different areas. Okay, 2 more. I don't know, did you guys all have yesterday off? Tell me, did you guys have yesterday off? I had the day off. I don't work full-time here, so I had the day off anyway, but I didn't do anything special, but I could tell I went into town. It was pretty busy. I could tell there was a lot of people with the day off, so had to keep reminding myself not to check the mailbox. So, okay, so you could put this down just straight on, but with the whole shifting thing, I thought it was kind of fun to kind of shift it down and to the right and down a little bit, just like I've been doing with the stenciling, just to give it that shadow. And I felt like it really made my hello pop. The fact that I die cut it out of there. Oh, that's awesome. Lisa had the day off and she did public service. That's awesome. That's the perfect way to spend Juneteenth. I had an appointment. They were still working So I had an appointment that took most of the afternoon yesterday, so. All right, I'll put down a little bit of liquid glue. Well, and I worked from home on my live. Okay, still working on my last bits of this bottle of Barely Arts glue. I think I'm gonna go back to my Barely Arts glue even when it's empty. So might see if I can get another bottle. I've had this bottle since the old building. If any of you guys know what I mean by that, TE's been in a new building for almost 2 years now, and I've had this bottle since the old building. Taylor had forfeited it. FYI, if you would like to put these down before you pop up your hello, like before you put the foam on the back of the hello, you won't have to, like I had to grab a pokey tool just to get it pushed down in there. If you don't want to do that, if you lay your die cut down and inlay these before you put foam tape on the back of your hello, it's helpful, but either which way it works. And then I have my two. I just left them in the die, so otherwise I just lose them. And I lose where they're supposed to go, right? So I just left them in the die. One more. All right. I've seen some people that don't inlay them back in, but I like it with this look. So there is our second one. And I boo-booed. Whitney told me I needed to grab a card base and I forgot. So I don't have a card base to put it on. That's okay. I will do that later. Let's add our little hearts though before I forget. I do like to lay those in place a little bit. I just thought that was cute. We also have the little white rhinestones if you'd rather do that. You could, and the other ones I splattered. I think I might like this look too without the splattering. I was mainly doing it so we don't have to wait for it to dry. Let me get one more, and I'm going to grab my sentiments. I pre-embossed a couple of sentiments yesterday. So I did one on Concord in case I decided to go that direction. And I just love this Hello Beautiful. I feel like you could send it to anyone. Hello There works. There's tons of sentiments in there. But I'm going to go back to my Hello Beautiful. I just like it so much. I put it, one of my cards, I popped it up. This one I popped it up. And this one I left it flat. I kind of decided I liked the flat a little bit better, but they're both nice. All right, just checking. Don't mind me, just checking comments, make sure I haven't missed anything. Sometimes they go past me too fast and I do miss them, so I apologize. Let me grab my little clear ruler. This is where I always want to check to see if I'm going straight, which I am kind of not. It's a good thing I checked. Oh. Sorry, I obviously can't straighten things and talk to you at the same time either. But I think I'm good. Let that dry for a second too. And then let's glue down some of these little clay hearts. This is probably besides the black rhinestone, my second favorite embellishment that TE carries. I love just white. For a long time we had a mix and I would pick out all the white. Now that we have all white, I love it. We have white stars too, they would be pretty on there too. Did I lose one? There he is. That one on there, and then this one right here. Here we go. Sorry, now I'm futzing. Gotta make it go the way I want it. Put that on. And then we'll pretend like I have a white card base because I don't. I can add that later. Whitney told me. And I did put on my cards, I did put a row of that 1/32 behind it also. So there we go. Let's go like this just so you can have a different. There we go. And then let's spill some tea, right? That would be good. That's probably what you all stuck around for, right? And we're right at an hour, so I kept myself within my time today. That's awesome. Okay, you ready? Oh, I showed you a little bit. Did you see it? Oh. Anyway, someone said they're little health problem, so I hope you feel better soon, Anne-Marie. Are you ready for your tea? These are done by Jill, so they are, of course, adorable. Are you ready? And colorful. But join us next week for the kit release. There you go. There's your tea. So don't forget to sign up for Stamp Joy. And again, the June special, the category with the June special is still going on. So check out some of the deals that are in the June markdowns. And join us on Tuesday. Join Taylor on Tuesday for her live. And thank you so much for joining me today. Have a great weekend.